Greetings, Skill Incarnate bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Welcome back as we look at another indie game. This time I'm returning to the legendary Commandos series with the Commandos 3 HD Remastered Edition, developed by Raylight Games, who created the Commandos 2 Remaster, which I previously covered. The game was published by my friends at Kalypso, who created several other iconic series including Tropico and Dungeons. At the time of release, the Commandos series was a groundbreaking war game that offered a more tactical experience compared to other games. It introduced many of the concepts that became standard in stealth games today, including a disguise system and enemy vision cones. But it was also a product of its time, with a clumsy camera, janky controls and graphics that haven't aged well. Raylight Games' remaster of Commandos 2 received a negative response from the community, primarily due to censoring some of the historical images. As a history buff myself, I was very disappointed by this decision, for a game that's supposed to be based on historical events. Due to this, I chose to skip Commandos 3, but I decided to take another look at the remaster after seeing the developer is listening to the community and attempting to create a remaster that's more faithful to the original series. Commandos 3 takes place during the height of the Second World War, with the player completing missions in a ruined Stalingrad, the beaches of Normandy, and the heart of the Nazi army, Berlin. The Commandos are assigned high-risk missions, ranging from defending Allied officials from German forces, assassinating high-ranking officers, or stealing intel for the Allies. Thankfully, the iconic Commandos returned from the previous games, with a silent but deadly Green Beret, the spy who's a master of disguise, the sharpshooting sniper, the demo man and his explosive toys, and the crafty thief and versatile marine. The campaign is even more challenging than the previous titles, with more difficult missions, more numerous enemies and better AI. Missions are largely trial and error, with you attempting several approaches until you find one that works. However, the feeling of accomplishment when you pull off a mission successfully is unparalleled. In one mission, I completed an assassination with my spy by walking through a German base disguised as an officer and poisoning a German official. In another mission, I stopped a German artillery battalion by lacing a bridge with explosives thanks to my demo man. It's moments like these that really define the Commandos experience, with the developer giving the player freedom to experiment with different approaches to complete the mission, at least most of the time. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Commandos series, however, Commandos 3 Remastered has its issues. Firstly, the camera controls are extremely clunky, with the player required to manually drag the camera around when indoors. When outdoors, it's even worse, with the player only able to rotate the camera by a fixed amount. I often found myself walking into enemy squads because of poor camera placement. Secondly, the controls are imprecise. I sometimes find myself having to select items or objects several times in order to use them. This is made worse by the developer's decision to implement context-sensitive controls, which simply added another unnecessary layer of complexity. Finally, the developers made significant improvement to the graphics. For some reason, they left the cutscenes, or at least some of them, in their original format, resulting in an inconsistent visual style. This is particularly noticeable in the Stalingrad campaign. To be fair, most of these issues, such as the controls, are due to the limitations of the PlayStation, and are less noticeable on the PC port according to fans. I'm also pleased to report that the developers have taken feedback from the community after working on Commandos 2, and instead of censoring the game, the historical images are enabled by default, with an option to remove them in the options menu. This is a big step in the right direction. I would have also engaged the modding community, as there's a thriving and passionate fan base who have created several high quality mods to improve the original game. The Commandos series will always hold a special place in my heart as my first stealth game. I remember watching my dad playing the original Commandos as a kid, only to share Commandos 3 with my own family 20 years later. Commandos went on to influence modern stealth games like Shadow Tactics, Partisans, and the excellent War Mongrels, which I've also reviewed. While it doesn't address all of the issues in the original title, it is a serviceable remaster, preserving an important piece of gaming history. It's also an important example of how a developer listened to feedback from their audience, then took some risks to create a better product. For these reasons, I'm glad I decided to pick up Commandos 3, and I'm happy to recommend it to stealth and strategy fans. I'm hoping Raylight Games will take what they learned from this game and create a remaster for the original Commandos. I hope you enjoyed my review of Commandos 3 Remastered, and if you did, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe, as it really helps the channel. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I hope you'll join me next time when we look at another indie game. Until then, Skill Incarnate, out.